The Brics. This bloc promises to be the dollar's kryptonite, the messiah of emerging economies. Do you know what it really was? A beautiful idea on paper, but with execution worthy of a college work done on the eve. A bunch of countries with completely different economies, internal problems bigger than their PIBs, and worse communication than your family's WhatsApp group. The promise to kick the dollar off the throne was as real as that uncle who says, "We'll pay you next week," meaning never. The Brics did not die today, they were born dead. Yes, stillborn, like that cousin who lives saying he will launch a startup millionaire, but never went beyond PowerPoint. Each member country had its own agenda, and the only thing they had in common was the will to escape the dollar. But wanting to escape and have a viable plan are very different things. While they were discussing what the single currency would look like, no one thought of how to make it work without imploding their economies together. But each brings a different ingredient and nobody knows the recipe. And now what's left? A bloc that could not even leave the negotiating table with something tangible. Meanwhile, the dollar remains firm, laughing at their faces. Want a spoiler? Any currency they try to create will have the same fate: failure. Because the system does not forgive amateurs, and the Brics was exactly that. It's a great idea for academic debates and newspaper headlines, but without the slightest chance of surviving in the real world. To fund meetings probably came from where? Yes, the dollar is the kind of joke that only geopolitics can provide. Want to know what really happened? Brics never had a chance, because their members tried to jump off the dollar ship while carrying the weight of gigantic debts indicated. Guess what? Dollars. It's like trying to put out a fire with a gallon of gasoline in hand. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. A group so diverse that it seemed more like a reality show than an economic bloc. I am dethroning the dollar. The result? An idea as solid as a house of cards in the middle of a hurricane. The dollar is not just a currency, it is the chain that binds the entire global financial system. You can complain, shout on social media, and even boycott American fast food. But at the end of the day, even your country's creditors want to be paid in what? That's right, not old and reliable greenish. The system is so deep-rooted that any attempt to escape it is like trying to cut a giant tree with a butter knife. And the Brics, with their dollar debts, would only reinforce this dependence. Did you want to create a single currency? Beautiful on paper, but in practice it was like putting 5 captains on a boat without a rudder. Let's face it, the Brics has never been a real threat to the dollar. Trying to create a single currency without solving the economic mess of each member is like trying to build a skyscraper on rough sand. And let's not even begin to talk about the lack of trust between them. While Brazil looked at China with suspicion, Russia was already trying to use the bloc as a platform to wash its own bar. It was a bloc more full of cracks than the economy of Argentina. Now, what really sealed the fate of Brics was the fact that the dollar is not just the head of the system, it is the system. Everything revolves around him, and any attempt to create alternatives only strengthens his position. Do you know what happens when you try to challenge a big boss without being prepared? You become an example for the next plans. And the global market is just that, pure PvP. Either you master the rules of the game, or you are crushed by them. Brics thought they could be the hero of the story, but it turned into a comic collapse. And here's the icing on the cake. While the Brics made nice speeches about financial independence, guess where they kept their international reserves? That's right, no dollar. It is like saying you want to end the monarchy while living in the king's castle. They planned, it's true, but trying is not enough when you are fighting against the most entrenched system in human history. The ultimate boss, the dollar, is still there, laughing at everyone who thought they could beat it with an amateur strategy and a lot of goodwill. In the end, Brics was just another chapter in the story of how to not challenge the status quo. Now Trump went there and threw gasoline on the fire, promising tariffs and retaliation. But you know what's funny? He didn't even have to open his mouth. The global financial system is already set to crush any attempt at rebellion against the dollar. The real villain is not Trump, it's not Brics, not even the Federal Reserve. that invisible web of debt and derivatives that keeps the world stuck like a fly in a spider's web. Any country that tries to get rid of it ends up stumbling over its own designated debts. Guess dollars. It's a perfect trap, and the Brics never had any way to escape. Want a simple example? Imagine that each member of the Brics is a prisoner escaping from a jail. But instead of sawing the bars or digging a tunnel, they decided to have a party and get the guard's attention. And surprise, the guard came running and brought reinforcements. Trump just needed to appear in the courtyard to remind that no one escapes without facing 100% tariffs, commercial isolation, assessments, all of which is the economic equivalent of a straitjacket. They were already trapped by the system. The euro-dollar was already doing a lot of dirty work before Trump released his threats on social truth. The euro-dollar, for those who have not yet understood, is the largest and most silent ally of the United States. It is a system that works outside the direct control of the Fed, but still reinforces the hegemony of the dollar. It allows international banks to cry dollars virtually do nothing, increasing the global circulation of currency. This keeps the dollar at the center of financial transactions, while forcing countries to depend on it to settle debts and finance their economies. It's trying to pay your bills with a coin that no one wants to accept. It's like trying to play poker with real estate banknotes. Good luck with that. Now, let's agree. Did the Brics think that I would pass over this? Do you think it is possible to challenge a system that has been consolidated for decades, with billions of dollars circulating between countries and international banks, just because you decided to create a new currency? That is the geopolitical equivalent of throwing a stone at the moon and thinking that Trump will never get it right, with his bravado, only reinforced what we already knew. The United States has the button to turn off global trade, and the Brics had a real plan to deal with it. The interesting thing is that while the Brics announced their ambitions for financial independence, their own members still traded in dollars and depended on it to keep their markets running. It's like planning a revolution while buying supplies from the enemy army. At bottom, Trump is just the icing on the cake in this story. The global financial system was already designed to crush amateurs, and the Brics, unfortunately, never went beyond that. A bloc full of grandiose interests, but completely unprepared to face the brutal reality of a market that operates as PvP pure and, as always, the ultimate boss, the dollar, remains on the throne, laughing at yet another failed attempt to overthrow it. So, will you continue to believe in geopolitical fairy tales, or open your eyes to reality? Brics is gone, and while the newspapers are doing the ceremony, I'm here laughing and accumulating. Do you want to learn how to play the real game? Then put your finger on this like button, subscribe, and activate the notifications. Because here is PvP, my friend, and only the smart survive before chaos swallows you up.